Hi, this is Naomi with Sword and Steel, and today I want to show you what these two second generation Turbo Dork paints look like when you paint them by hand as well as when you paint them through the airbrush. Now, spoiler, they look basically like that. But if you want to see exactly how you might apply them, I hope you check out this video.
So this Tyranid was primed with Chaos Black Spray Primer, and I also added 2 layers of Carmine from AK Interactive 3rd Gen to the carapace because Redrum suggests on the bottle to put it over a red color. But I wanted to show you both over red and over black since I find these types of paint do very nicely over black. It is worth noting that I do have some trouble with these bottles. First, they are difficult to open with their Naomi-proof caps. And additionally, though the spout is lovely for very precise drops of paint, the paint does dry out in that nozzle sometimes, which can be cleaned out with a wire or a needle, but unless you remove the inner cap, which can be done with a little difficulty, and push out the clog from inside to out, you would instead be pushing the clog into the fresh paint, and I do not suggest that. I mean, if you're hand painting, I guess it doesn't matter that much, but if you're ever going to be airbrushing with it, I do not suggest putting any clogs into the fresh paint. It's just something to note that you may want to store these particular paints upside down to keep that drying from occurring, since it's going to be a pain to clean out. Now, without thinning it in any way, I used a damp brush to apply the color over the red. As you can see, it matches the Carmine very closely, so at a glance, it just looks like I'm adding a gloss varnish over the red. And because of its more gel-like consistency, something common for glosses or thicker metallics, that's what it feels like I'm doing too. While wet, it doesn't exactly look that metallic and more just wet, but it will dry like a red metallic, which you will see. After applying a layer over all the red, I start applying it over the black, and this is where the second generation of these paints differs greatly from the first generation. You can see a difference besides sheen. In one coat, you can immediately see the red of the Redrum. So much so that I like the look of the red over the black, and because the Redrum was covering so well with one coat, I decided to not cover the black entirely, so we could see the natural shadows the black offers by just covering the Redrum over the raised surface areas. You let me know which you prefer. Do you want it over red, or do you like it over black? I think maybe I wouldn't necessarily go black though in the future. I would go like a charcoal brown, which seems like a much more natural shadow to a red metallic than the solid black look, but still, I still like it. And here it is again, once dry. This is 2 layers of the Redrum over the carapace, and again the black wasn't completely covered. I really just, as you saw, went back and forth with my brush, letting all of the crevices keep the black and only covering the red over the raised surfaces. I used the exact same method for the Cool Ranch color. Similarly, this nid was primed with Chaos Black Primer, and I painted Deep Blue from 3rd Gen AK Interactive onto the carapace, and then applied the Cool Ranch first over the carapace, and as that was drying, I applied the blue over the Chaos Black, but again, only on the raised surfaces, and letting the black stay in the crevices so you can see what something like that looks like. You may wish to go to a very deep blue instead of black for the undercolor, but I like it like this too. For highlighting and shadowing these, I would suggest adding the highlights and shadows to the undercolors. It just make it easier for yourself. If you use a stark difference between shadow, midtone, and highlight and then apply this over top, it will show up well, but that's up to you, of course. As you can see, these paints leave a metallic appearance, as do every one of the Turbo Dork paints currently made. It has a bit of a gel-like consistency, quite common to thicker paints with a glossy or metallic finish. So you may wish to thin it down with an acrylic thinner if you need to work more precisely than I am. Turbo Dork now creates their own thinning medium, and I like it because it's semi-gloss. I do not suggest water if you want a smooth, glossy finish, but it isn't the worst thing you could do if that's all you have. A second layer over the top first layer will fix whatever patchiness you might find if you are using it thinned. A third layer even more so. This Space Marine was based with pure red as the top tone and sapphire gem as the blue undertone because I like using blues or purples or browns for the shadows of red, particularly when I'm going to be applying a transparent color over top to smooth out those transitions. Now, Dork, like I said, created their own thinning medium for use in the airbrush, so that's what I'm going to use. And they even tell you the ratios to use on the side of the container, depending on whether you're using a 0.5 nozzle or 0.3 nozzle. If you don't have this thinning medium available to you, I would go with the Vaiho Airbrush Flow Improver mixed with some kind of gloss, and that would work just as well. But Dork's thinning medium is semi-gloss already, which is just what you want when dealing with metallics. That also means if you have other favorite metallics that are too thick for your airbrush, but you want to try them through the airbrush, you might want to use this thinning medium for that as well. Or just use the thinning medium when dealing with thicker metallics that you're hand brushing, since this would make a better medium for them than water by a long stretch. After the first layer has dried, I have determined that it's best to put a second layer on that is more heavy with the thinning medium. So I did a 1:2 thinner to paint ratio for this second coat, and that will get the model to the same sheen that comes when just applying it by hand. It's funny that it used to be on the previous edition of these Dorks, it was easier to get a good look through the airbrush, but now it kind of seems like it's easier to get it to look good just brushing it on by hand. But I'm still working with these, so we'll see. I think I've got the ratio down for the best results for airbrush, but I'm not certain yet, because I haven't gone through all the paints yet, whether this is consistent across the range, because the first generation of paints was really not consistent. Each paint was different, so I'm not yet sure if that's the case here when I do a video on every single one of these Dork paints so that you can see the full range all together in the one video. I'll answer those questions. So if you had other questions about these, do let me know in the comments so I can address them in future videos, because these videos are for you. I used the same method with the Cool Ranch, and I always add the thinner first so the paint doesn't adhere to the pot as easily before back bubbling into an even mix. I also find that if you don't want this to stick in your airbrush, make sure your brush is dampened first, gently with water, or your airbrush cleaner if it's a mild one. And this model is an infinity model that Corvus Belli gave me, so thank you Corvus Belli for this model. I primed the model with ivory, then played with the Army Painter Fluorescent Blue Fanatic and a dark blue from Vaiho's Airbrush Premium line, so that's what he's going to look like before I apply the Cool Ranch. And then I applied the Cool Ranch with the 0.5 nozzle ratio of Cool Ranch to thinning medium, and then another layer with the 2:1 paint to thinning medium ratio. If you don't have the thinning medium they offer, like I said, use Vaiho's Flow Improver. Probably add a little bit of retarder in as well and mix both of that into a gloss medium or gloss varnish to keep that shine when you're using these metallics. So if you have tried any of these paints or are having trouble with results, because I have heard that some people are still finding these a little tricky to work with, let me know exactly what your troubles are in the comments, and I'll see if in future videos I might solve those issues for you. I'll be using every single Dork in the range, so don't be shy. Let me know. Also, the owner of Dork, in my experience, is always working to improve the quality of the paints and even the bottles, already trying to make them not so Naomi proof. And I know he's going to check out your comments too, so let the both of us know if you have issues. We're here to help.
Well, if you had any questions whatsoever, make certain to comment below. You might not be the only one with questions on these. I'm going to be continuing doing videos about the Dork 2nd Gen paints, and if you had any ideas of what you would want particular colors to be covering, you let me know. I am still exploring this range of paints. It's very easy to tell what you might do with all of the golds and silvers because they just look like great metallics. But I still haven't figured out exactly where I want each of these paints to go. But I'm pretty sure they look pretty awesome as carapaces or scales, wouldn't you say? And though it might be a little bit difficult to put a wash over top of them without dulling down the paint, if you add some gloss medium into that wash, you are golden. If you add that thinning medium that I kept mentioning in the video, then you are golden. That's what I would do if I wanted to wash them over. Add something that's semi-gloss and thin into the wash, not water, and you should have a great time with these. I'll probably go into it in a future video, how to wash over these metals in case you wanted to do that. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in those videos and other videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye! Turbo Dork. Turbo Dork. Turbo Dork. I can't wait to actually get to the colors that are Turbo and Dork, which was really cute. They're a bright blue and a bright pink. I'm excited for those. Okay, bye.